Hello everyone, my name is ZCRGator and welcome back to Tier List Tuesday. Today's tier list is all about Generation 4. We will be ranking every single Generation 4 Pokemon in the Sinnoh region in today's tier list. Now, as a little setup before we get to it, Generation 4 to me holds a very special place in my heart. The Sinnoh region holds a very special place in my heart because it is my introduction to Pokemon. Pokemon Diamond for the Nintendo DS is my introduction to the franchise. So a lot of these Pokemon takes that I'll have today are seen through rose-tinted glasses. They are nostalgic based takes, but before we get into those takes, before we get into the tier list, if you end up enjoying today's video, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It really helps your boy out. We are on the road to 300 subscribers, and comment down below, who is your favorite Generation 4 Pokemon and why? I would absolutely love to know down below in the comments. But with that being said, we have a very standard tier list today. We are rocking with an S through F tier list. I'm thinking, now, I broke the rule in the last video with Generation 3. The idea is that the S tier is reserved for my top 10 for the region, and then the F tier is reserved for either the bottom 5 or bottom 10, depending on how many Pokemon are in said region's Pokedex. For me, I think I did break the rule, because with Generation 3 it was only supposed to be a top 10, and then I added in like 15 to 20 because I just like Generations 3 Pokedex so much, and I personally think it has the best like regional dex out of any Pokemon game, but that's also my own personal take. With that being said, I think I'm going to try to make it a top 10 again for Generation 4, but we'll see if that actually ends up holding out to be true. Same with the F tier, it'll probably be a bottom 5, bottom 10, but we shall see as we go on. But with that being said, enough yapping, let's get right into it. We are kicking things off with one of my favorite starter trios in all of Pokemon, that being Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup. I think all three are phenomenal. I really like all of them. I have talked a good bit about them in other starter ranking tier lists, so I won't go super in-depth on them. All I know is that this little lad needs to be in the S tier, and this big old dude also needs to be in the S tier, and this guy also needs to be in the S tier, because I like them so much. And for now, we'll put, because I do really like the monkeys. The monkeys get to be in A tier. Grottle gets to be B tier, C tier, B tier, C tier. We'll do C tier for now. Well, I think it's a little better than mid. Maybe. I do like Grottle. I do kind of have a soft spot for Grottle, whereas Piplup also needs to go into the A tier. Primplup is a nice B tier, and Empoleon I think is also a very nice A tier. I'm thinking about putting Piplup up in that S tier though. Is it bold of me to put all three of the baby starters in the S tier? Like, off the rip, we're gonna have 5 in the top 10? No, I can't do that yet. But I'm gonna put Piplup at the top. Piplup's incredible. I love Piplup probably a lot more because of the anime than the actual games itself, but Piplup's amazing. And same with Chimchar and Monferno. I like them all. I've talked a lot more extensively about them in the other starter ranking videos, but Turtwig for me is probably my favorite starter Pokemon of all time. It is not my favorite Generation 4 Pokemon. We'll get to that later. But I love the little dude. He's just such a little friend. Plus Piplup and Chimchar are both little friends. And I think all three of them evolve into absolute monsters, absolute beasts. Now, I know Torterra is not the best when it comes to competitive Pokemon. That grass ground typing, it sees one ice type that is obviously going to be faster than it, and it shrivels away. But when you're playing the games, I think it's still really fun to use, and it is my personal favorite for a Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum playthrough. And then, of course, Infernape is also incredible. I absolutely love a Pokemon based off of Sun Wukong, based off of Goku. We're talking about an absolute beast. And Empoleon's not too far behind, honestly. I think Empoleon as a Pokemon has grown a lot on me in the past couple of years. But, dude, the Steel typing is my favorite typing. The fact that it's a Water Steel type is just, oh, it's a cool Pokemon. I absolutely love it. I love the starter trio. They're incredible. Up next, we have quite possibly, not my favorite early route bird Pokemon, but I think probably objectively top 3, and I could easily see it being people's favorite early route bird Pokemon, that being Starly, Staravia, Staraptor. For me, I'm probably putting Starly in the B tier. Staravia, I think, is a really solid A tier. Staraptor is also a very solid A tier. Incredible, I think, an incredible flying type. If your introduction to Pokemon is Generation 4, I think they are phenomenal for a Generation 4 playthrough. Plus, Staraptor gets Brave Bird and it gets Close Combat, which putting Close Combat on Staraptor is kind of broken. I'm not gonna lie, because if your rival, let's say you chose Chimchar, and your rival decided, your rival's gonna choose Piplup, all of a sudden you got an absolute weapon against Empoleon. It's kind of not cool having a Pokemon like Staraptor has a base stat total of 120 in attack, and you're firing off super strong close combats, and you're taking out steel types with this bad boy. Like, Staraptor is an absolute menace and should be treated as an absolute menace. It's a powerhouse. Also, do you get Staraptor at 34? Because it says it learns close combat at level 34. I always thought Staravia evolved at 36. It is 34. Wow. Completely misremembered that. I didn't realize that. I knew Starly evolved at 14. I didn't realize that Staravia evolved at 34. In my head, I always thought 36. Wow, you get it a little earlier too. That's actually pretty sick. But Staraptor, incredibly cool. Up next, we have the Pokemon that many view to be a god, that being Bidoof. I like Bidoof. Bidoof is a friend. Bidoof gets to go in the B tier. B-Barrel, I don't think he's F tier for me, but I'm just not the biggest B-Barrel fan. I don't know what it is about B-Barrel. Maybe he's just a little too dorky for me. Maybe a little too derpy. But I don't know. There's good derp and there's bad derp, and I don't want to say he's got the bad derp, but just something about B-Barrel just never really did it for me. Whereas Bidoof, that's my friend. Bidoof is a friend, and I like Bidoof. So therefore, Bidoof gets the B tier. B-Barrel, I don't think it deserves F tier, and I don't think I personally view it in the F tier. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to view much of any of these Pokemon. This is going to be tough because I actually don't know if I have an F tier allotted for any of these Pokemon, because I actually really like Generation 4. Like I said, I'm viewing it through a rose-tinted glasses, so very nostalgic for me, but we'll put B-Barrel in D tier for now. Up next, we have our early route bug Pokemon, that being Kricketot and Cricketune, Mr. Whoop. Kricketot is C tier. I find it adorable. Do I like using it in a game? No, not at all. And Cricketune, for all of its memes, I do like its design. It's not the most fun to use in a playthrough. I've tried a couple of times, and it did not really end too well for poor Cricketune. But, at least I got to use it in the early game. But even then, you run into a Rock-type gym for Gym 1. So, you're going to use Turtwig or Piplup to hard carry in that. Or Monferno if you have Monferno by then. It does help with the Grass Gym at least. And then, by then, I kind of just don't carry Cricketune afterwards. But Cricketune, I think design alone and the Whoop that's Cry probably gives me the C tier vibes. It's mid for me personally, but I don't know, I kind of want to put it in D tier, but we'll put it in the mid tier for now. Up next, we have Shinx, Luxio, and Luxray. I don't want to say underrated, because I think everybody likes this evolutionary line, to be honest, but man, I would love to see this line get a Mega Evolution. I think Luxray is super cool. I like all of them, actually. Shinx for me is a B tier. I think Luxio is an A tier, and then Luxray is also an A tier for me, and I'd probably put both of them ahead. Yeah, I'd probably put Luxray right here. That feels like the right spot. Again, it's tough when you have a physical electric type, especially in the early gens, because most of electric moves tend to be more on the special side of things. Excuse me. And Luxio, although its special attack stat isn't the worst, 95 isn't bad, but it's so much better as a physical attacker at 120 base attack stat total. And it's a little slow, because normally you won't normally have faster electric types, but the big thing about a Luxray is that it's the ability Intimidate, assuming you'd get that one and not Rivalry. Rivalry's meh, but Intimidate is an incredible ability, and that will help you out big time. But Luxray is still fun to use. Like, I still always enjoy my playthroughs using a Luxray, and it's got such a sick design. I wish it was a dark type, because I think it would be cooler if it was a dark type, but it's still an incredible Pokemon, and I like it a lot. Up next, we have Badoo and Roserade, which to me, I think I stated it in the last episode with Generation 3, I always thought Rosalia was Gen 4. And I never realized it was Gen 3. Even though I played the Gen 3 Pokemon games growing up, for some reason it just never computed that it was a Gen 3 Pokemon, because those came out before Generation 4. I was also young and dumb, so I didn't quite realize that. But I always felt Rosalia belonged in Generation 4 with Badoo and Roserade, but I'm glad that Badoo and Roserade were added, because I think if you choose Piplup or Chimchar, Badoo is an incredible grass type to start out with, especially when you get at like Route 204, which is super nice, and then it evolves into Rosalia. I think they're friendship, but you kind of get that relatively quickly. At least I've always got it relatively quickly, and then, Roserade is an absolute carry. I think Generation 4 might have some of the best early route Pokemon. That being, I sometimes find myself already rocking like 4 or 5 Pokemon before I even get to the first gym. Because if I choose, let's say I go Chimchar, I could easily pick up a Starly, I could easily pick up a Shinx, and I could easily pick up a Badoo. And right there, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 team members before you even get to the first gym leader. And all of a sudden, I have something to take care of the first gym leader. I have something to take care of the the grass gym leader. I guess, depending on your game, if you're playing Diamond, then you'll get the fighting gym leader third, and here's your ability to deal with it. And then you go on to the fourth gym, which is electric. Here's your ability right here. Not electric, it is water. You could use your electric type and your grass type to fight them off. And then, ghost types, kind of meh. Hopefully you already have that figured out by then. Platinum, it gets a little bit more difficult, but at the same time, maybe your Luxio has Bite. And if you have a Bite, well, you're going to deal with it pretty easily. Except for Miss Maggie's. Miss Maggie's is still a little difficult to deal with. But I don't know, it's just, I think the early route Pokemon in Generation 4 might be some of the best in the entire franchise. Because a lot of the times I find myself, and I try not to do it as often, because I know it's incredibly memeable by the fact that everybody who ever does Generation 4 ends up with the exact same team. Starter Pokemon, Starly, Shinx, and then at some point you'll pick up Lucario, Garchomp, and all them, but it's kind of hard not to do that sometimes because I like those Pokemon a lot, and there's a reason why people like them so much, because they're so good. But with that being said, we must move on, and I'm moving on to, quite personally, I think my favorite fossil duo, or at least fossils for their sets of games. So Gen 1, you had Ammonite, you had Kabuto, and Aerodactyl. Love Aerodactyl out of those 3. Gen 2 didn't have the fossils. Gen 3 had, Laleep and Anorith, which I do like them. But Gen 4, give me a Cranidos, give me a Rampardos, give me a Shieldon, give me a Bastiodon, even if they're not quite, I've always had a ton of fun using them in playthroughs. Sometimes they're not the greatest, and especially competitive, they're not the greatest. But man, I always enjoy using them in playthroughs. Cranidos for me, easy A tier. Rampardos, I think is an easy S tier for me. Well, we'll see. I really like Rampardos a lot. Shieldon, I think, is a B tier, and then Bastiodon is a very nice A tier right behind. Is it behind Roserade? No, I like Bastiodon a little bit more. For me, I do like my rock types a lot. I really like my steel types. Both of them, I love the gimmick of Rampardos, even if he is a little slow. That man hits like an absolute truck. I mean, we're talking, 160 attack, I think? 165 in its base attack stat total. Now, it is absolutely slow. It is slow as a rock. and he's got no defense. He has 60 and 50 as his defense and special defense with a 58 speed, which means you're not outspeeding a lot of things, and you're absolutely getting demolished by a lot of things. But, assuming you don't get demolished, you're demolishing your opponent. So I'm a big fan of the fossils. I love me some Rampardos. I always played Diamond growing up, so I had access to Cranidos and Rampardos more often. But when I play Platinum every now and then, because I think the fossil in that game was determined by your trainer ID. So if you had an odd number as your last number in the trainer ID, you got Cranidos/Rampardos. If you had it even, you got Shieldon/Bastiodon. So every now and then, I always found myself more often having an odd trainer number, so I still end up rocking Cranidos, Rampardos. But every now and then, I would get the even, and I would try to use Shieldon and Bastiodon. And now, they don't really hit too hard, but man, are they fun to use as a defensive utility Pokemon, and I kind of use them a lot to set up for me. And then I let the others on my team take care of business. Plus, I really like Bastiodon's design too. Not as much as Rampardos. I like Rampardos a little bit more. But I'm a big fan of Bastiodon as well. That man is an absolute unit. He is a tank, and you cannot, you can, but you cannot beat him unless you have a ground type or a fighting type. Then he goes bye-bye a go-go. But just don't run into those, okay? That's just don't run into those. So, but that being said, we must move on, and we are moving on to another bug-type Pokemon. Now, Generation 4 introduced a weird gimmick. I kind of like it. At least it got me to play the game every single day, that being honey trees. So if you put honey on a yellow tree, I think every 6 to 8 hours, I don't remember which it was, but every 6 to 8 hours a Pokemon would be on, well, most of the times a Pokemon would be on said honey tree. Now, you had your more common encounters being like a Wormpole or a Malcomb, or I guess Burmy? Is Burmy one of the more, it might have been one of the more common encounters. And then you have your incredibly rare ones, like Heracross. I don't know if Apom was rare. It might not be. I think it's uncommon. And then, of course, the rarest of all of them, Munchlax, the 1%. There's only, I think, 4 trees in the game that it could spawn on. And even if, even if you figure out what those 4 trees are, you still have a 1% chance of it actually spawning on those said trees, which I have never, ever, since, I've been playing these games for 15 years? That sounds about right. Never once have I found a Munchlax on a honey tree. It's one of these days I will. That day has not come yet, but we'll get there when we get there. We must talk about Burmy. Now, you do find Burmy on said honey trees, and I like a little Burmy. Burmy's a friend. I think Burmy, I like the grass Burmy more than I like these two. They get to go in C tier, because if we get to just rank them by this, I've always had the grass Burmy, and I've never actually really gotten to use the sand or the trash cloak. Wormadam! I'm going to count this as one, seeing even though they have 3 different forms, this will be counted as one. For me, this is probably the F tier Pokemon in Generation 4. When am I ever going to use a Wormadam when a Mothim is right there? I like Mothim a lot. Mothim, even though it's not the greatest, I love the design of Mothim. I think Mothim is adorable. Plus, I've always had fun using Mothim. I prefer it over Beautyfly or Dustox or Butterfree or Beedrill or Ledian or all of them. Now, the way to get Mothim is you need a male Burmy, as opposed to the female Burmies will evolve into Wormadam. So, but I've always had fun with Mothim. I've always enjoyed using Mothim in playthroughs, even if it does struggle towards or near the end of your journey, but it gets cool moves. It gets Psybeam, it gets Psychic, it gets Bug Buzz, it gets Air Slash, Silverwind. It's got kind of a decent move set, and its move pool isn't all that bad either, because you could run Toxic Stall, you could run Protect. It learns Solar Beam, which is kind of crazy. And it also learns Sunny Day. So you can set up the sun, and then you can fire off strong Solar Beams. It learns Shadow Ball. It learns, what else does it learn? It learns Energy Ball? Really? I would have never known that. That's kind of sick. I haven't ran an Energy Ball Mothim before, but I have ran Solar Beam Mothim because I felt like it. And to be honest, I will say, it's not the strongest attacker. I mean, 94 in attack and special attack isn't all that bad, though. That's actually pretty solid, especially for one of your early bug-type Pokemon. So it's not the fastest, but I've always enjoyed Mothim. I always have fun using Mothim in playthroughs. So Mothim for me is an easy A tier, probably right behind Staraptor, and then Cranidos I also move up to. I want to move you. Actually really like Cranidos a lot. Probably right there next to Monferno. That feels appropriate. I think I might move Monferno right here. Oh, I do like the monkeys a little bit more, but that feels right. So Mothim, incredible Pokemon. I'm a big fan of Mothim. Up next, we have Combee and Vespiquen. This is F tier for me, and the biggest reason why. So, and this is more recently, even though I was never a big fan of Combee to begin with, I do kind of understand the gimmick. You encounter Combee, I think male Combee 87% of the time, or it's like, not 80s, it's 87 and a half. And then you encounter female Combee, I think 12.5% of the times on honey trees, which, you know, was kind of rather annoying. Even though Vespiquen I still think is a cool Pokemon, and I do like Vespiquen a lot. Man, was it so annoying to run into male Combees. And that's not the full reason why it's in the F tier for me. Well, one, male Combee is pretty much worthless. I feel bad for saying that. I know there are probably male Combee enjoyers out there, but it can't evolve. Male Combee cannot evolve. It is not a good Pokemon. Like, its stats are pretty abysmal, and this is the biggest thing. And this happened only 2 years ago. It has nothing to do with Diamond and Pearl. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize male Combee can only learn Gust in Sweet Scent. Oh, it learns Bug Bite in Platinum. Okay, that makes it a little bit better, but man. Oh man. Oh, it learns Struggle. Okay, it learns Struggle Bug in Scarlet and Violet. But this does have something to do with Scarlet and Violet. So, my first shiny in Scarlet and Violet, because you can see them in the overworld. I wish it did the sparkling noise like Legends Arceus did when you find a shiny, which I wish it did that so it could alert you to a shiny in the area. Anyways, the very first shiny I ran into in Scarlet and Violet was a shiny male Combee, and I said, "You got to be kidding me." This isn't the first time I ran into shiny male Combee. Way long ago, I did a randomized Heart Gold playthrough. And at the Lake of Rage, you run into the shiny Gyarados, and that shiny gets randomized to a random shiny. So I was really excited to see what it was. This is like the first ever randomizer I've done of Heart Gold. And I ran into a shiny male Combee at the Lake of Rage, and I said, "Oh, this might actually be the worst shiny I could have ever ran into." So obviously did not use it on this team. I was really disappointed, and the fact that that man came back to haunt me again all these years later. Ugh. Combee, man, I'm sorry, but you gotta go in the F tier for me personally. Whereas Vespiquen, probably a B tier. I'm not like super duper high in Vespiquen, but I don't think it's average either. I like it a little bit more than the C tier just because I think it's cool, and I like the gimmick, plus the fact that it has pressure is kinda sick. Even if it's not like the greatest Pokemon in the world, I do like the gimmick and the idea of Vespiquen a lot, and I do like the design, so that kind of for me carries it to above average, so I'll put it in above average. Up next we have the Garchomp Slayer. The 2014 was a VGC champion, Pachirisu, the Pikachu clone of Generation 4. For me, Pachirisu, solid B tier. You know what, it's an adorable little squirrel dude, and because of that, you get to go right next to Shinx. I like that placement. But an even cooler Pokemon, Buizel and Floatzel. I think, do I want to? We'll see if you stick here. We'll see if you stick here for now. Actually, no. I would put you right in front of Cranidos. Yeah, that feels right. And then you get to go probably behind Rosemary. That feels right. Yeah, I like that. Now again, this is also one of those Pokemon that is involved in the everyone uses this playthrough, because if you choose Chimchar, you're probably rocking with a Weasel as your water type. You're probably rocking with Starly as your flying type. You're probably rocking with Badoo as your grass type, and then you're rocking with Shinx as the electric type, and there's your 5, and then you pick up either Lucario or Garchomp to add to the team. And I get it, everyone does use it. It is a very overused Pokemon in playthroughs, but there's a reason, because it's good, and I like it. And Buizel he's cool. I like Buizel a lot. It tends to be my water type of choice in Gen 4 playthroughs if I'm not using Piplup, although I'm a big fan of Shellos too, which I'll just skip ahead. Shellos, I think, is a nice A tier. Same with Gastrodon. I do like using them as well as my alternative, and sometimes I'll wait instead of getting it at the, Valley Windworks. I'll wait instead and get a East form Shellos, the blue form. I like the blue form better because I like the color blue more than I like the color pink, although the color pink is pretty close up there. But for me, I'm East Side gang, so we do the East Side coast. I understand the pink is the West Side coast. I like East Side coast for me, but we're only basing it. I only get to base it off of the pink form. Either way, they both get to go in A tier. I also like both of them a lot too. So, and Gastrodon is kind of tanky. If you can use it correctly, it is pretty tanky. So, Gastrodon, pretty cool Pokemon. Up next, we have our grass type Pokemon that I maybe only used once in a playthrough. I was never the biggest fan of Cherubi and Cherim. I don't know. I don't really have a lot to say about them. Are they F tier? Maybe. I might move Cherim down. I don't think I'll move Cherubi down, but I might move Cherim down to the F tier. I don't know. To me, they're just a little boring. And I don't know why I find them so boring, but I do find them boring. And I do kind of like the gimmick that in the sun, Cherim goes into the little sunny form and it's all happy and yada yada yada, but when it's not sunny, it's all hiding behind the plants. But I don't know. Cherim's just kind of there. It just kind of exists in my head, and it's honestly, for me, even though this is the generation I grew up on, I kind of forget it exists a lot of the times. So it's just kind of there. And I don't really know what to do about that. So I think I'll just put it in the D tier for now. But a Pokemon that I'm not going to put in the D tier and I'm going to put pretty up high is Ambipom. I like me the monkey. Monkeys are cool. Objectively speaking, monkey Pokemon, I like them a lot. Ambipom gets to go up into A tier. We might move you into the S tier because I'm starting to realize that we'll see if how much we're gonna fill out that S tier for now. But Ambipom, very solid A tier. I think there's gonna be a lot of A tiers in this list, but I really like Generation 4. So up next, we have one of the scariest Pokemon, at least Pokédex entries, Drifloon, the balloon ghost Pokemon that apparently a creepy Pokemon that has been said to basically carry children away because they see it as a balloon, they grab onto it, and it just flies away. It just flies away to abduct children. That's not cool. That's not cool. But as a Pokemon, it has a really cool shiny form. I found a shiny in Legends Arceus that blew itself up. I was really sad. It clicked self-destruct. I went for a Pokeball. I did not catch it. I went for another Pokeball. Did not catch it. And I was like, well, you know what? I'll battle it. I shall battle it, and I'll catch it in the battle. And then it blew itself up. Yeah, that was really sad because it's a cool shiny, and I didn't save beforehand because I didn't realize you could save and then you'd still find the shiny. I wasn't smart enough to figure that one out like 3 years ago or 2 years ago. So, oopsies. That's a oopsies on my part. But Drifloon, I think a solid C tier. Drifblim for me, also a solid C tier. I don't really have too much to say about Drifblim. I've maybe only used it once or twice, and it was fine. I don't know, I wasn't like super happy, but I also wasn't like upset about it either, so I think it's just fine. Up next, we have Bunnery and Lopunny. And I guess so this tier list, I could find one, because I know Origin Dialga and Origin Palkia aren't on this list. And I did find one that had both of them on said list, but I just like using the sprite versions better. So I guess, I don't know if I'll rank them. I will try to rank them if I remember. So, but for now, we do have Mega Evolutions that I'll rank with said Pokemon. I think Baneri for me, solid B tier. And I think Lopunny for me, even if the Joker likes it way too much and there are no laws against the Pokemon Batman, B tier, and I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. I won't say much more about it. And I think the Mega Evolution also gets to be B tier, and we'll just leave it at that. Up next, we got Miss Magius. I'm a fan of Miss Magius. I think it's a really cool Pokemon. I think Misdreavus needed an evolution, and I got an evolution, and I got a pretty cool evolution. I also really like ghost types, so good for Miss Magius. I think you get to go right here. That feels right. Yeah, that feels right. And then, of course, big man Honchkrow, the big boss. This is, for me, the flying type that I tend to use in playthroughs of Diamond. I don't know if you can find Murkrow in Platinum, but I've also played Diamond a little. I mean, I've definitely played Platinum a lot more than I have played Pokemon Diamond. But anytime I find myself playing Diamond, I almost always have Murkrow on my team. So let me look this up real quick. I want to see its location in games. Murkrow and Pokemon obviously find it in Diamond. Oh, I didn't realize you find it in the Lost Tower. That's kind of cool. Okay, you need to trade it to Platinum. That's kind of lame sauce. I guess I've never thought about using one in Platinum, which is always strange. Which, I mean, fair. I would always use Togekiss if I do Platinum playthroughs. But man, in Diamond, and I even used it in Brilliant Diamond when I got that game too. Honchkrow is just a boss. It's just a big boss, dark flying type. I like the design too, the absolute mob boss design. I think it's pretty sick. I think it's a cool Pokemon for what's his name to carry, Cyrus. So big fan of Honchkrow. He's a big man. I like the big bird, big boss bird. S tier. Up next, we have Glameow and Purugly. Definitely wasn't expecting Glameow to evolve into Purugly when I first saw Purugly, even though I should have assumed based off of the color schemes. It just kind of shocked me when I did it, when I got my own Glameow, when I was probably like 7 or 8 years old, and it evolved into Purugly, and I was like, oh my god, it evolved into Commander Mars's Pokemon? How did I... One, I don't know how I didn't recognize that would happen, but two, I was like, oh, I didn't see this one coming. For me, solid B tier, and Purugly, also a B tier. I'm actually a little bit higher on Purugly than I thought I would be. I don't know, the fact that it's really fast, I always forget how fast it is, and I always find it actually, man, because now that I'm thinking about it, it is an absolute pain to get the Glameow to evolve into Purugly, because it evolves at level 38, and Commander Mars has like a level 16 Purugly, which isn't cool. Like, that's not fair. I think the evolution knocks you down to the C tier at least, just because it takes way too long to get you. But I mean, it's kind of nice. I don't know. Like, its stats aren't amazing. It is fast, and I'm glad it's fast because I like it more because it's fast. But also, it's not like hitting like a truck either. I think a C tier is a good rating for you. But up next, we must move on to Chingling. I like the little dude. I don't really have much to say about Chingling. It evolves into Chimecho, but he's a friend. I think it's pretty mid, but Chingling's still a friend. I like Chingling. I think I'm going to move you up to B tier, actually, because you're my friend and you're my buddy, and I kind of like you. So good for you, Chingling. Up next, we got Commander Jupiter's Pokemon, that being a stun tank, but we must rank Stunky first. I think Glameow is exclusive to Pearl, and I think Stunky is exclusive to Diamond. Stunky's fine. I don't know. I think it's a solid C tier. I don't really have much gripes against Stunky or Stuntank. I think they're fine. Now, Stuntank, I think, has one of the funniest things to me. The fact that it can learn Flamethrower. And anytime I've seen the animation, it always looked like it was coming out of its butt. And I thought that was the funniest thing as like an 8-year-old child. Because I thought he just had explosive farts. And you know, I think because of that, you get to be moved up to the B tier just because. So good for you, Skuntank. Up next, we got Bronzor and Bronzong. I like these two, man. I like Bronzong a good bit. Honestly, I think Bronzor gets to go into S tier, and Bronzong, you get to go right in front of Bastiodon. These are some thick lads. They don't pack too much of a punch, and they're incredibly slow. But man, I like their design. I like their color. I like it. Bronzor just being like this little tablet dude, and Bronzong being like the Liberty Bell. Well, I mean, he's not the Liberty Bell, but he's like a big old bell dude. And they're really nice utility players. Plus, it's still psychic typing, so a really cool combo. My favorite, one of my favorite, like top 5 favorites, is Metagross, still psychic. So obviously, this is your bootleg still psychic, but he's not like, you're not going out and taking people out with a Bronzong. You're using this bad boy to set up the rest of your team. Plus, he has good abilities in Heat Proof or Levitate. So I'm a big fan of Bronzong. This man's a bulky dude. Both of them are bulky, and I've always enjoyed my playthroughs using a Bronzor or a Bronzong. Up next, we got Bonsly and Mime Jr. Both of these probably get carried by the anime for me, because if we didn't have the anime, I probably wouldn't care about either one. But because of the anime, Bonsly gets to be at the very end of C tier. Yeah, I gets to be at the very end of C tier, and Mime Jr. gets to get up to the B tier. And same with Happini. Happini also gets to go to the B tier, because that thing was freakishly strong in the anime. Anytime it would come out, it would just pick up this massive boulder that's like 20 times its weight in height and chuck it at people. So good for you, Happini. And then there's also Chatot, which I also like Chatot too. Chatot is a friend, and I don't know why. I don't know. There's something about Chatot that I've always just kind of liked, even though I haven't used it all too often. You could always trade for one, which is kind of sick. I think you could trade a Weasel for it, if I remember correctly. But Chatot was always a friend. I like Chatot. So, B tier. And then, of course, we have big old Spiritomb, one of the most mystical Pokemon. Now, I think getting Spiritomb is always a pain, because you either need a friend, or you need 2 copies of like Platinum, or a copy of Diamond, a copy of Platinum, or a copy of Pearl. And you have to do the underground thing where I think you enter and exit a base like 30 different times of a friend, and it gives you the ability to activate the Lost Tower, because you need an odd keystone, and you have to place it in the tower, and then you need to do the underground thing. I dislike that. I dislike that so much, because Spiritomb is such a cool Pokemon to be placed behind such a weird requirement. Now, in the later games, it's a lot easier to get a Spiritomb, and because of that, Spiritomb gets to go a little bit higher. But I wish the generation that it was introduced, that wasn't the case, because to me, this is such a cool Pokemon, and I'm still going to put it in the S tier, I think, because it's just such a sick design. Like, I think this is one of the best designed Pokemons. Probably one of the best Gen 4 designed Pokemon. It's just his absolute evil spirit. Ghost Dark typing too is really sick. It's basically Sableye, but better, and it has the ability Pressure, which I don't know if Pressure is like the greatest ability, but for some reason in my head, because legendaries carry it, I always go like, oh, well, that's really cool. So Spiritomb, I've always liked it. It's better on the defensive side, 108 in both special defense and defense. But I mean, it could still kind of hit hard with 92 in both attack and special attack. So, plus his move pool is kind of sick, and Cynthia has one, so it kind of just makes it cooler by default. Because if Champion Cynthia has one, you know this thing's an absolute, what was I going to say? Absolute menace. We'll just say absolute menace. There we go. But Spiritomb, super cool Pokemon. I'm a big fan of Spiritomb. I'm also a big fan of this pseudo-evolutionary line, and for good reason. It's really cool. Gible, A tier. Gabite, A tier. Garchomp, S tier. And I understand a lot of people do not like this Mega Evolution. I love it. I wish he didn't lose speed for his Mega Evolution, because Mega Garchomp, I think, is such a clean design. I mean, this thing is so cool. I'm also going to count this as like 1. So this will get like one entry with the Mega Evolution, like I've done with all the other S tiers. So, but Mega Garchomp, that thing is so cool. I got to use one in a Y playthrough. It's either X or Y. I don't remember which one. Excuse me, but I really enjoyed using Mega Garchomp. His thing hits like an absolute truck. Sure, it does get slower, and that does make me sad because it loses 10 in speed for its base stat total. So instead of 102 speed stat, it is 92. But man, when you're hitting things with 170 base attack stat total, it's kind of fun to use. Not gonna lie. Plus the design is so clean. So I wish Garchomp had a cooler shiny though, because Gible I think has a cool shiny. I wish Garchomp had a cool shiny. Either way, it's not my favorite pseudo line, because Metagross is my favorite pseudo line, but I think this is my second favorite pseudo evolutionary line, because ground dragon typing is such a nice typing too. So, but yeah, these dudes are super cool, and I like them. So, I understand why everyone uses them on a team, and I also thought it was really cool that the way you find it in Turnback Cave is that it's under the bicycle path, and you have to find like the hidden path on the wall. As a kid who I didn't have internet access till I was like 13. I did, but I wasn't smart enough to actually use the internet in, different ways. But the only thing I ever used the internet for was to look up Pokemon, and I think Weird Al music videos when I was like 10. So that is my earliest memory of like internet usage, was just looking up Pokemon, like I think Maryland or Azurilan, whatever it was called, like way back in the day, which I haven't even used that in like 7-8 years, because now I just use Cerebi or Bulbapedia or the Pokemon database or whatever it is. But I would only ever look up stuff. But back then, I was like 8 when I first played Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, so I didn't really know anything about looking up. I didn't even think to look up anything on a computer. So when I accidentally found that little hidden passageway in Turnback Cave, I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing. I must have found the coolest secret. And then I found a little Gible in there, and I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest little dude. And when I found out it evolved into Garchomp, the Pokemon that Cynthia had that absolutely destroyed me when I first played through Diamond, I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing I've ever done in my life, and I think I am happy. So I'm very glad I now have this thing on my team. So Garchomp, incredibly cool. Big fan of Garchomp. Up next, we have the Munchman himself, the Mr. 1%. He is the top 1%. You can only find him on 4 honey trees, and those honey trees change every time you do a new game. And there's only a 1% chance that you will find him on said honey tree. You have to wait about, 6 to 8 hours if you check it like that much. For me, I would just do the honey trees at night, and I'd wake up and check in the morning, so it'd be like a once a day, twice a day thing. Never once have I found the Munchman on a honey tree, but there are other games that I've gotten to use the Munchman in, and in Brilliant Diamond you can find him in the Grand Underground. I like the Munchman. I like him. He's my friend. He also gets kind of carried by the anime too, because weirdly enough, he was introduced in Generation 3's anime, because May had it, which was always weird, because I always associated Munchlax with Gen 3 instead of Gen 4 because of the anime. Either way, I like the Munchman. The Munchman is my friend, and even though I would never have one as a pet because I'd go bankrupt because I wouldn't be able to feed him properly, I would not have enough food to satiate his hunger. But he's still the Munchman, and I like him, and he's my friend. And then this is also my friend too. I like Riolu a lot. Riolu is another friend, and that would be one that, like, if you were given the chance to like have a Pokemon, Eevee would probably be my top choice. Turtwig would probably be another one of my top choices. Same with Mudkip. Riolu is probably up there for me too. And then obviously it evolves into Lucario, and Lucario is also incredibly cool. So yeah, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, we have a 10. Sorry, Bronzor, you're getting demoted because I already know you're gonna get passed up. Spiritomb, you're also gonna get demoted because I already know you're also gonna be back. You're also gonna get passed up at some point. But again, I will count the Mega Evolutions as one. But Lucario, also a Steel type. I like me some Steel type. Lucario is super sick. Obviously, it has its own movie. It's in Super Smash Bros. I actually enjoy using it in Smash 2. Incineroar, I also enjoy using, but I struggle so much because I accidentally self-destruct myself by hitting his up B and just, yeah, missing completely. Lucario, I don't have that same issue with, and I get to fire off Aura Spheres, which is always really cool. Lucario, incredibly cool Pokemon. I also understand why everybody uses a Lucario in Sinnoh playthroughs. It's hard not to. It's an incredibly cool Pokemon, and I also like its stat distribution. I mean, when you're rocking with 110 in attack, 115 in special attack, and he's kind of fast, like 90 isn't like the worst. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. Lucario is a fun Pokemon to use, so I like Big Lucario. Easy S tier for me. Up next, we got Hippopotas, one of my favorite names to say in all of Pokemon. I do like saying Hippopotas a lot, and Hippowdon. So this is the one that I still have actually, I think I've used Hippowdon before because I caught it in like whatever the one area is that I don't remember the name of. It's like Route 225, which, funny enough, I think auto-played on the music that I have on the playthrough. So, no, not Route 225. It's like Route 228, like the sand route. In post-game, I think you could catch a Hippowdon there. So I have used Hippowdon. I've never actually gotten to really use Hippopotas. I've had the ability to in Legends Arceus, but just never chose to. I still like the dude. Like, he's a friend. I don't know. I just like him. This is much more of a design-based take. But I like Hippopotas and the name. I do like the name a lot. And then Hippowdon, I thought it was cool that you have different colors for the male and female. Which I think, is that the same for Hippopotas? I'm not sure. Either way, Hippowdon, I think, is a very solid B-tier Pokemon for me. And then another solid B-tier Pokemon is Skorupi. And then Drapion, you get to go all the way up in my A tier because you're also really cool, and I also enjoy using you in playthroughs, and I like the design a lot. Poison Dark, sick, I think a sick typing. So, and then another Pokemon I guess to go up high in the A tier is Krogunk. Specifically Krogunk, Toxicroak, you get to be in the B tier. So, sorry pal. But Krogunk also gets hard carried by the anime a good bit too. But it's cool. I like Krogunk a lot. And it's, I think it was the perfect Pokemon for Brock to have. So good for you, Krogunk. Up next, we have Carnivine, which also gets carried by the anime a very good bit for me. I loved Carnivine growing up. This used to be like one of my top 10 favorites. It's not that way anymore. But I've always had a soft spot for Carnivine. So I think it's a fun A tier for me personally. So is it good? Not really, but he's cool, and I like him, and he's a friend, so good for you, Carnivine. Up next, we have Finneon, which might be my favorite cry in all of Pokemon, because I used to, in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, I always used the Pokedex feature, like, all the time, and you're able to reverse cries, you're able to slow them down, you're able to do, like, the height and weight features, so Finneon, to me, it always had my favorite cry in the world, which, let me take one quick second. Finneon Pokemon cry. Let's see if we could just get, here we go. I'm going to try to, let's see, this is 9, that's, hopefully, there we go. Is this do it again? Oh, it's Lumineon. Lumineon's not as cool, but I love Finneon's cry. I think that is the funniest cry in all of Pokemon, and I don't know why I think it's so funny, but I think it's personally incredibly funny for me. So, because of the cry alone, B tier. Lumineon, I like the design of Lumineon. I've never really used a Lumineon before, and I don't want to be harsh in putting it in like D or F tier. But I'm gonna put it in D tier for now. I think it'd be the top of D tier, and I kind of want to put it in C tier, but like, I don't know. Like, Lumineon isn't really the greatest stat-wise, but stats have never really, you know, bothered me too much in terms of where I'm gonna place Pokemon. It depends. Like, if I just don't have a fun time using it, I probably would. But my biggest problem with Finneon is just there's a lot of other water types in the game that I tend to prefer over it. So I always feel bad because it's never really my choice. And I think you find Finneon on Iron Island. So yeah, it's just so late in the game. By that point, I already have my water type and the water Pokemon situation figured out. It's always feel bad, but like, I don't know. And then Mantike, I think, is solid C tier. I don't really have a strong take about Mantike. I know it evolves into the pain that is Mantine, and can just go itself. But like Mantike, I don't know. I don't really have much of a preference. It's like a C tier, I think. So, but a guy that I'm putting ahead of C tier is Snover, Mr. Achua, and then Obama. I like Obama too. Obama, he's a very nice A tier Pokemon. I think right behind Mothim. Yeah, that feels good. And then your Mega Evolution will just go with you too. So I like Obama. He's cool. I know anytime I've ever had Obama Snow, even though he has like the most weaknesses in the entire game, I've always named him Obama because, you know, Obama Snow, Obama is pretty close. So I like him because of it. I also like Mr. Achu Snover too. So level 42 is a little high for me, but it's still a fun Pokemon nonetheless. So another fun Pokemon. God, there's gonna be so many A-tier Pokemon. Good lord. I might want to upgrade the S tier to like a top 20 because the A tier is so massive. Weavile! I love Weavile. Weavile is really cool, man. Weavile is such a sick Pokemon. Now, it does evolve through, I think, Razor Claw, so you give Sneasel a Razor Claw. And it evolves during the day, I want to say, but Dark Ice is super cool. Now, physical ice types aren't like the greatest, and special attack is super low. It's like 45, but it's really speedy, and it hits hard on the attack side of things, on the physical side of things. Weavile's cool, man. Weavile's just a super cool Pokemon. I like Weavile a good bit, so I'm going to put Weavile in my S tier for now. And then, not S tier, my A tier for now, and then this thing's going in S tier. I love Magnezone so much. I think Magnezone is one of the coolest Pokemon. This might be, it's one of my favorite. Like, it's right behind is it behind Turtwig? Is it though? Is it? Oh, that's a tough call. I think I'm gonna put Magnezone ahead. We'll see how we feel at the end of the video, but I think I'm gonna put Magnezone ahead for now. Man, I love Magnezone. Magnezone is such a cool Pokemon to me. One of my favorite evolutionary lines is Magnemite, Magneton, and Magnezone. But I've always enjoyed playthroughs. This might actually be, at least in the past 5 years, it might be my most used Pokemon in any playthrough. I used it in Scarlet and Violet. I've used it in Brilliant Diamond. I've used it, I think, in the current Platinum playthrough I have. I'm using it right now. So it's just such a cool Pokemon. I love Magnezone so much, and I'm firing off super strong Thunderbolts. Mans is a Steel type, so you know he's kind of bulky, but it's hard not to like Magnezone. I also am realizing that this isn't going quite in the order of the Pokédex, but either way, I'll rank it with how the thing's set up. Magnezone's just cool. He's fun to use. I'm a big fan of Magnezone, so he gets to go all the way up in the S tier for me personally. Up next, hold on just 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Up next, we got Licky. For me, Licky's alright. Licky is cool. I think B tier. I don't have the strongest, I like it a ton, but I also don't hate it either. But a Pokemon I do like, honestly, all 4 of these, all 5 of these, 5 of them in a row, I'm going to put all 5 of them in A tier. I like me some Rhyperior. I'm a big Rhyperior fan. I prefer it over Rhydon just because of the design, and Rock Wrecker is such a fun move, even if it does take a recharge. Tangrowth, also one of my, for Platinum playthroughs, if I don't choose Turtwig, this tends to be my grass. It doesn't tend to be, Roserade tends to be my grass type choice, but Tangrowth is right there. Every now and then I'll do the Tangrowth route, and I always enjoy doing that route. Also, big Electivire. I like Electivire a lot. And I also like Magmortar a lot too. So I think these Pokemon are super cool. And I love, the one thing that I really like about Generation 4's Pokedex is that it gave a lot of Pokemon evolutions that I thought were needed. And Electabuzz, I do like Electabuzz and I do like Magmar a lot, but I really like Electivire and Magmortar a lot too, and I like them more personally. I think they're really cool, and then I also, just for now, because we're kind of doing the evolution, actually I guess all of them are evolutions, aren't they? Yeah, they're gonna have so many in the A tier. I should make like a A plus and then an A tier, but I'm not going to, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. Togekiss also gets to go up there. Togekiss also is one of the flying types of choice, mainly in Platinum playthroughs. So Togekiss is nice because you're firing up. I think it does learn Aura Sphere if I'm not wrong. I'm pretty sure because I'm using it in my current Platinum playthrough. So let me check because I'm almost positive that thing has Aura Sphere on it because you can learn it through the move relearner. Give a heart scale and boom. Yeah, it learns Aura Sphere. So I mean, Togekiss is pretty nice Pokemon. Plus, its stats are pretty solid too. We're rocking with 120 and special attack. You're rocking with some pretty nice defense at 95 and really nice defense at 115. It's pretty good Pokemon overall. It's a fun Pokemon to use too. Yanmega, not quite A tier for me, but I've always liked Yanmega. I think Yanmega is a super cool design. I've always had a good time using Yanmega in playthroughs, so I think funny enough, I don't actually use it as much in Platinum, but I have used it in Heart Gold and Soul Silver a good bit. So, and then of course, the evolutions. I think Leafeon for me is a solid B tier. Glaceon for me, and this is as of recently, is all the way up in the S tier, and I think it would be right here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, Big Boss Honchkrow. I'm gonna cheat, and I think I'm gonna do 12 in the S tier because I know. I'm gonna do 13 in the S tier. I'm gonna do 13 because I see this big man too, and I love Mamoswine so much, man. Mamoswine is such a cool Pokemon. Honestly, Big Mamo gets to go. Dude. We're talking about big mammoths. Mammoths are like, even though they're not like, they're real way, way, way long ago. But God, mammoths are so cool, and Mamoswine is so cool, and you're firing off super strong earthquakes with this bad boy. It's such a fun ice type to use. Like Mamoswine for me, I accidentally will pick it up. Like every time I do a Platinum playthrough, I'll be like, I don't need the Swine up. I already have all of my team figured out. And then I pick it up anyways, and I evolve it to Mamoswine. I go, well, but Mamoswine is cool, and Mamoswine is fun to use, and I kind of just want to use Mamoswine now. And then I end up using Mamoswine instead. So this time on my playthrough, I've been using Glaceon. And I very much so enjoyed using Glaceon. So we're going to keep it as a Glaceon. But I love Big Mamo. I'd also really like Gliscor too. This is also one that's been carried a little bit more by the anime, but Gliscor is such a sick design. I think it's a sick Pokemon. I've only ever used it one time, but I had a lot of fun using it that one time. Gliscor for me, very cool. I like the Scorpion too, and it might go up in the future. We'll see, because I haven't used it in forever, ever. I would like to do another playthrough at some point of whatever game using a Gliscor. So, but Gliscor, really fun name, cool design. I love the purple color. Cool in the anime. Big fan. Another Pokemon that I'm a fan of, Porygon Z. I think a very solid B tier, at the very top of B tier. Someone that gets to go ahead of B tier though is Gallade, because it's super cool, and it's a Gallade, and it's really sick, and it gets to go right here. And then I'll also just include your Mega Evolution with you. But Gallade, super fun to use. Actually, the last time I've used a Gallade was probably my Omega Ruby playthrough, and like, God, whenever I got that game in 2015. I knew it came out in 2014. I didn't get it till months later, because I actually didn't realize it came out, because Pokemon didn't really do the best at marketing that game. So I had no idea it came out until like 5 or 6 months after it came out. Either way, Mega Gallade was really fun to use in that game. So And then, of course, we got my man's Mario Uncle G Probo Pass. Mr. Probo Pass, I will put you all the way up. I think B tier. I think at the top of B tier. That feels good. That feels good. I think top of B tier is where you should be. Also, I'm realizing on my little Pokemon playthrough music, I should have definitely hit this song when we were covering Garchomp. Oopsies! That was my mistake. That was my plan when I put it in the little playlist. Completely forgot about that. Not gonna lie, but we'll remember with the others. We'll remember with the others. So don't worry. We'll remember with the others. For now, we'll just keep ranking. Dusknoir. I like Dusknoir a lot too. I think he's a really cool Pokemon. I'm putting him also up there in A tier. Even though I don't know if Dusclops need an evolution, I think Dusknoir is a really cool evolution. Plus, in a Mystery Dungeon, it's kind of one of the... It's been so long since I've actually played Mystery Dungeon. It's like an antagonist of sorts. I don't remember its full motives, but I do remember it being kind of bad, and it might have gone good. I actually don't remember, but I do remember it very vividly from said game. So either way, I've always liked Dusknoir. I've always had fun using Dusknoir. He tends to be a Pokemon that I get a lot in randomizers, funny enough. So, but Dusknoir, cool Pokemon. Frostlass is another cool Pokemon. Is it as cool as Glalie? No. Glalie is cooler, and Glalie is better. But, hold on. Oh, okay. I guess the champion theme just doesn't work. This works, but the actual... Oh, okay. That's cool. That's cool. I was gonna wait until we got to the starters, but it doesn't want to play Cynthia's theme, I guess, which maybe that's saving me. I don't know. For now, we will just we'll play Snowpoint City again. Either way, I don't even remember who I was talking about there. Yeah, sure, Dusknoir, we like him. Rotom. Rotom's up next, and I also like Rotom a lot. Rotom is a friend, and I think this one we will rank the different forms. So normal Rotom for me is still an A tier. Microwave Rotom is also A tier, probably behind Weavile, probably behind Ambipom. Same with the washing machine. I think the washing machine one is funny. And then of course, Refrigerator Man, you get to go into B tier, probably right there. The fan, you were always my least favorite, so you get to go in C tier. And then the lawnmower was always my favorite one. I don't know why I don't even think it's the best one. It might actually be the worst one, but it's the funniest one to me. The fact that he possesses a microwave or an oven, a lawnmower, and a washing machine was always so funny to me. So that's why they get to go up top. So those are my favorite forms. But with that being said, let's skip ahead to the song that was supposed to play when we got to these guys. The Legends. The Legends. Oh my god. Whoa, it's the Legendary Lake Trio. Whoa. This is crazy. Oh my gosh, we're just discovering them for the first time. And then you battle them. Whoa, they have pretty cool battle themes too. But, in terms of Legendary Trio, they're not my favorite. They're really not my favorite. I mean, you got Articuno, Moltres, Zapdos. I like them. Raikou, Entei, Suicune. I like them a good bit. The Regis of Regirock, Regice, Registeel. I like them a good bit. And then the 5th gen has Swords of Justice, Terrakion, Virizion, Cobalion. I also like them a good bit. I like all 4 of those legendary trios more than Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. For me, they're just mid. They're just mid. I think Uxie and Azelf for me are both mid. They'll be at the top of mid. And then I'm going to personal bias put Azelf in B tier. So I don't know. This legendary trio never really did it for me, and even now, like, I feel like I'm lower on them today than I was whenever I first played the games. And the reason why is because when I first played the games, I just saw them as, whoa, legendary Pokemon. Isn't that so cool? That's crazy. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah, I don't know. It just never really did it for me. So, but they're fine. I think they're cool. I understand the appeal for a lot of people, but for me, they're just meh. They're just kind of meh. But you know who's not meh? You know who's pretty cool? The next couple of Pokemon are very cool. I think they're very, very cool. I'm a very big fan of these next couple of Pokemon. All of these legendaries, which by the way, I think, is it the Sinnoh region or is it the Unova region that has the most legends? It might be Unova by like 1 or 2, but the Sinnoh region has my favorite legendary roster. Now, it's kind of not fair because they have so much more than almost all the other generations. But with that being said, they have really cool ones. Do they have my favorite legendary trio? Man, probably not. I still think I'd give the nod to Generation 3 with Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. But man, is it incredibly, and I mean incredibly close. Because this one specifically, Mr. Dialga, the Lord of Time. This is my second favorite Pokemon of all time. It is my favorite legendary Pokemon of all time. This thing is an absolute powerhouse. We're talking the Lord of Time. One of the coolest, I think, one of the coolest colors or color variations in all of Pokemon. I really like the colors of Dialga a ton. Steel Dragon, such a sick combo. Also, Origin Form probably wouldn't go in S tier for me. It would probably go in A tier if I had to rank it. Palkia's Origin Form would probably go in like D tier. I mean, it's kind of growing on me, but not growing enough for me to really like it. But Dialga, powerhouse. We're talking Steel Dragon type. Aw, it's a Steel type, which is my favorite typing in the game. Dude, Roar of Time might be my favorite move in all of Pokemon because the way they illustrate it in the games is just explosions everywhere. And sure, you do have to take a turn to recover, but oh my god, this thing is so cool. You get them at what, level 47, I want to say. But god, this is just to me the coolest legendary Pokemon in all of Pokemon. And then Palkia, of course. Palkia needs to go up pretty high too. Palkia for me is probably, it feels so weird to put these 4 or these like 5 ahead, but I really like Palkia a lot. It is also an incredible legendary Pokemon on its own. It is the Lord of Space. I think it's really cool too. I love the Sinnoh trio because of the lore tied behind it. They're the first 3 Pokemon created. So Arceus is the first Pokemon, and then he creates Dialga, Palkia, and then of course Giratina, who we'll talk about in just a little bit. But man, I mean, you're talking about the creator of time, the creator of space, and then the lord of the underworld, not underworld, but the distortion world, the parallel world. Is it parallel to? I don't know if it's parallel to the actual world or not in Pokemon lore, but still, it's incredibly cool. I love all 3 of them a lot. I think they're incredibly sick in design. Dialga's the best of the 3. But man, Dialga is such a cool Pokemon. Palkia is also a really cool Pokemon. You know who is also a really cool Pokemon? Who we'll use this music for, because I think you find it in Stark Mountain? Heatran. Heatran is also a really cool legendary, and it's also another Steel type, and that makes it incredibly cool. And Heatran gets to go right in front of Electivire. And then Regigigas. I wish your ability wasn't so bad. If your ability wasn't so bad, you would actually probably be like one of my top like 5 legends ever. Design alone for Regigigas carries it so hard for me because I want to like this thing so badly. I genuinely want to like it so badly. And I'm just gonna rank these 2. For me, Cresselia, solid B tier. Fione, F tier. I don't need Fione when you got Manaphy. You get to go right there, and you get to go right there. I feel good with both of y'all going right there. And then, of course, we have to talk about this absolute powerhouse, the Lord of the Distortion World, Giratina. It does have different forms, Origin and its normal form. I think, is Origin form better in attack? Let me check this super quickly. So it has this altered form, and then so this is okay, so this is the defensive one, I think. Altered form, and then Origin form is, yeah, okay. So altered form, 120 in defense and special defense, and it's 100 in attack and special attack. Origin form is 120 in attack and special attack, and 100 in defense and special defense. Either way, we are talking about quite possibly the, honestly, this might be, I don't know if I should say objective, because obviously everyone has different tastes, but this might actually be the best designed, like, legendary Pokemon ever. And I mean that. Like, this, to me, Giratina is my third favorite legendary of all time. And it is a incredibly, and I mean incredibly, close tie. Hold on, Shinx, you go right back there. It is, I'm going to count this as one. I will count both forms as one for me. My goodness, is it incredibly close. Like, it is incredibly close with Rayquaza. But holy dirt, I mean, sorry, I have to put Magnezone. I do have to put Turtwig ahead of you. But man, we're talking about one of the coolest legendaries of all time. Dragon and Ghost is such a sick typing. Shadow Force, I think, is such a sick move for a signature move. Ooh, is Giratina incredibly cool. I love Giratina so much. It has its own movie too, so of course Giratina gets that. Its theme, the theme you're listening to right now, oh, is it such a clean theme for a legendary Pokemon? I think my favorite legendary theme still might go to Groudon and Kyogre, but this is like the closest second. It might be, I might, like, depending on the day, I probably prefer this one over that one, but you know, currently, I think I like Groudon and Kyogre's theme a little bit better, but man, it's Giratina's theme. It goes super hard. It's such a cool battle. You're in the Distortion World too, which, by the way, in Diamond and Pearl, when you originally find it, like Turnback Cave, or whatever it's called, that was one of the coolest things ever. When I was a kid, and I just, because, you know, as a kid, when you play through those games, especially post-game, you just wander around all the time. So when I found that route underneath, right below Veilstone City, was just missing trees, and I go, oh my god, this has never been that way. Oh my god, this is completely different. What is going on here? Only to discover this creepy cave, and I'm like, ooh, this place is crazy. And then you run into the massive monstrosity that is Giratina. Oh, I thought I discovered like the coolest secret of all time, like the greatest secret in all of anything at my life up until that point. Yeah, Giratina is so sick. It is just, oh, is it such a cool legendary Pokemon. And I absolutely understand why this dude tends to be most people's like favorite of all time. Because, I mean, come on. It is one of the cleanest designs of all time. Plus, it has such a cool shiny too. You want to know who's another really cool Pokemon that we gotta hold on. We gotta boot up its theme here real quick. We have such another cool Pokemon that also got its own movie dedicated to it as well. Oh, I'll just let the music play for a little bit. Ooh. You want to talk about another really cool Pokemon? Are you kidding me? Darkrai, one of the greatest mythical Pokemon. One of the, some people's, like, I understand why this is like, I also kind of group mythicals and legendaries together a lot of the times. Absolutely understand why this is some people's favorite, because the design on Darkrai So clean. So cool. I mean, come on. I'm going to break my rule. I'm putting this in S tier. I'm also just going to break some rules. You get to go in here too. And I feel bad for leaving you out, so you get to go in there too. So, but Darkrai, such an incredibly cool Pokemon. I don't know if Shaman has its own theme. I have no idea. But for me, B tier. I'll just put both of them in B tier. Also, I want to move you up. I want to move you up to right here. And we'll move you to right there. Both of you get to sit right there. And Licky, you get to stay there, bud. I'll keep you there. Darkrai? Are you kidding me? This thing is so cool. Of course, it has its own movie. I know Shaman's also in Giratina's movie too. And it's like one of the more main characters in that one too. But like Darkrai? God, this thing is so cool. Plus it learns the move Dark Void. Oh, what a sick move. The Nightmare Pokemon. He's so cool. He's one of the best designed Pokemon, I think, ever. And I want to say it's the overall main antagonist of the Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky, if I'm correct. I don't remember. It has been such a long time since I have played those games, so I don't quite remember. But nonetheless, incredibly cool Pokemon. You want to know who is also another really cool Pokemon? This absolute powerhouse who has his own game dedicated to him after all of these years. One of the most mysterious, at least to me growing up, one of the most mysterious Pokemon ever. And the literal embodiment of God in the Pokemon universe. Lord Arceus. This thing is super clean. Like this Pokemon. It's so cool. It is so cool. I think also one of the coolest designs in all of Pokemon. One of the coolest legendaries or mythicals, whatever classification you want to put it in. Also one of the coolest in that too. Arceus is right up there with Giratina for me. I think it is such a cool Pokemon. Like this thing is so cool. I think I'm going to put Riolu ahead of you for now, but man, this dude is just, he's called the Alpha Pokemon. He can change his typing whenever he feels like it. You give him a plate, he'll change his type to a different, whatever type of plate you give him. That's super sick. And, what is it? In Legends Arceus, I believe whatever move you hit, he just changes to the type of the move, which is so cool. Plus, he learns the move Judgment, and I think that is the coolest move ever. It's not. Roar of Time is the coolest move ever. But Judgment is a very, very, very close second for me. Yeah, this dude is canonically God in the universe of Pokemon, and I understand why. You're rocking with 120 in every single base, stat total for a total of, 720. Yeah, this thing is an absolute unit, an absolute powerhouse, an absolute it's a god. It is a god, and I think this theme, one of the cooler themes for Pokemon too, one of their own, out of all the legendaries that get their specific themes, it's one of the cooler ones. So the Darkrai theme that I played, y'all, is not from the video game. That's from the one movie, the Darkrai movie that I don't remember the name of off the top of my head. But yeah, Arceus, incredibly cool. I am a massive fan of the god of the Pokemon universe. But with that being said, I believe that wraps up our Generation 4 tier list. Technically, this is a bottom 5, even though it's one Pokemon. I'm just going to keep the bottom 5 the way it is. Combi, you get to be the worst of the worst, actually. So, but yeah, I did break my rule again. I'm just going to leave the top. I'll leave the top like this. In fact, I'm just gonna shoehorn them in real quick. I'm gonna shoehorn them in so Regigigas and Palkia can be all cool, and Heatran can be all cool at the top of A tier. But man, what a cool region! What an absolutely cool region! I love Generation 4. I love the Sinnoh region a lot, and I love a lot of the Pokemon in said region. I always find myself having a lot of really fun playthroughs with a lot of different Pokemon in Diamond, Pearl, and especially Platinum. Platinum fixed a lot of issues that Diamond and Pearl had, especially with the Pokedex. But with that being said, I think we're going to end it here. I like how the list looks. So if you ended up enjoying today's video, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, it really helps your boy out, and comment down below. Who's your favorite and least favorite Generation 4 Pokemon? I would love to know down below in the comments. But with that being said, I must bid you all adieu. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day and fantastic rest of your week. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.